Hey there, welcome to Trapping the Time. My name is Pablo, and today I'm going to review the third Chinese watch in my collection, this Cadisen C-8199 that seduced me a lot, not only for its aesthetics, and of course, also for its price. A couple of months or 3 months ago, I do not know where I read that this Cadisen was the best-selling watch on AliExpress, and I confess that my initial purpose was to buy one, to see firsthand how good could be the best-selling automatic on the Chinese portal. So, I was not very convinced, and going through their collection, the Cadisen collection, I immediately came across this desk diver that attracted me much more, especially because I did not immediately associate it with any iconic watch, as it usually happens when you look at Chinese brands. And to this day is that I still wonder if it is an own design or if it is a copy of some watch that I do not know. Some say that it has some resemblance to a Panerai, others to a Longines, by the fact of having the 12 and 6 in Arabic numerals of good size, but I see that they look like an egg to a chestnut. This Cadisen has its own personality, and a design that is not copied from others, as it happens with my Captain Willard or with my Daytona. Another thing that caught my attention is that this watch can be found cheaper on Amazon than on AliExpress, buying it from the brand itself. As you can see here, in the Chinese store, it costs more or less 150 euros once taxes and shipping are added. And on Amazon, the same watch goes for 135. Something unusual for me, since I had never before seen that a Chinese brand is cheaper on the American portal than on AliExpress. But on the other hand, I celebrate it because it is usually much easier to resolve any incident or claim, or even the return, assuming it proceeds. So, with that point in its favor of being more accessible, at least from Europe, and with the very favorable precedents of its countrymen Steel Dive and Pagani, I finally decided to order my third Chinese, this Cadisen C-8199. And the truth is that once again I have to say that I was impressed. Maybe not as much as the Steel Dive or the Pagani, but almost. It has a sensational appearance, with stunning finishes and design, above all with materials that many would like for themselves that multiply several times the price of this. I think I have already made this comment exactly the same with my other Chinese, but there is no choice but to highlight this, because it is something that impresses. Really, this watch only costs about 135 euros? Let's analyze it. It is an analog watch with 3 hands and date. Mounts an automatic caliber, Mayota 8215, which beats at 21,600 alternations hour. It has 21 jewels, allows manual winding, but not the second stop. It is an older caliber than its rival, the NH35. But I believe that, except for lacking hacking, it has little to envy the Seiko movement. And having said that, let's go now with the aesthetic review of materials and finishes of this Cadisen C-8199. The dial is a very dark blue. Depending on the light, it may appear black, but as soon as it is illuminated with a certain intensity, the sunray effect appears, which looks phenomenal. That's when it shines that blue, what shall I say, oceanic, very intense. I really like this dial. The indexes are neither printed nor applied. I will say that they are die cut, as they are read through the holes in the dial, which is sandwich type, and the color is given to a layer that is below the dial. The hours are baton-shaped, except at 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock, where we see quite large Arabic numerals. The 3 o'clock marker is cropped, as next to it is the data, which is seen quite well for not being neither very large nor incorporating cyclops. All the markers have a fairly good quality lumen, last for hours, and pass the awakening test without difficulty. I used to say dawn, but it is in a metaphorical sense, as I always wake up before the sun rises. But if the lumen of markers and hands is good, the bezel seems to have its own light so much that shines. The truth is that the pastel blue color of the luminous paste is phenomenal. It is a dial characterized by its clean design. We only see the hour indexes, the legends automatic and 200 meters, 660 feet above 6 o'clock, and the Cadisen mark below 12 o'clock, the data, and nothing else. Or rather, when less is more, I really like this diaphanous dial. The hands, which look metallic, have a steely color on the profile, pencil-shaped, and are filled with the same lumen as the markers. The trotter is heavily counterweighted and lollipop-shaped near the tip, where it also carries a drop of lumen. In the Rahout, very vertical, is where we find, painted in white, the indexes of the minutes or seconds, also with baton-shaped, except in the 5 and its multiples, which show Arabic numerals. The crystal is sapphire, although it has no anti-reflective coating. And we come to the bezel, unidirectional and 90 clicks. And if I know, it is because I have counted it. And this, along with the great slack it has, I would say that this is what most lowers the grade to a watch that otherwise is of a high note. It seems to me a very big failure, that slack, the largest among all my watches with bezel, and by far. And the truth is that I do not understand that downgrade in such an exposed part of the watch. No matter how much desk diver it is, that lack predisposes you to distrust about the build quality. And it's a shame because, otherwise, if we could remove the brand, no one would say that this is a Chinese little more than 100 euros. The bezel has grooving around the perimeter to facilitate grip, and aesthetically, it promises to stand the test of time well, as it has a ceramic insert in a beautiful blue color, very similar to that of the dial. And now we come to the case, which is not that it does not look like any other. Well, it is very difficult at this point to design a watch that does not have some resemblance to any other. But this not only happens to the Chinese, also to the Japanese, the Swiss, or the Germans. It is not that everything is invented, but almost. And although we know that Chinese brands are not known for innovating designs, as some exceptions such as Siga Design, these Cadisen seems to go that way, not only fusillade designs from others, as other brands do, but risk with their own compositions, and I really appreciate this. I think they are demonstrating that there is no need to resort to always copy the icons of the competition. They do it too. Here you can see how these watches look like Omega, Longines, or Rolex. That at least a part of their collection are their own creations is to be appreciated. In that sense, my respects to Cadisen. Returning to the case, I will say that it is strange. Not so much for the shapes, which as a whole are quite nice, although perhaps a bit abusive of right angles. But above all, what I miss is a combination of brushed and polished that would give more presence to the watch. With this mirror polish everywhere except for the top of the lugs. I would have done it just the other way around, all brushed, as the dial and bezel already shine. But well, this is a matter of taste, and the truth is that it is not ugly. But I would have liked it much better with the surfaces shaded with a good brushing, that's for sure. As you can see, the most striking thing is that growth it has on the left side. I guess to make it a little more symmetrical with the crown protection, which is of good size, that we see on its right side. It's not ugly at all, in fact I think it gives it a lot of personality. Also, the watch is not very tall, just 12 millimeters. And as you will see, that growth is not of the same thickness as the rest of the case, which makes it look stylish and well proportioned from the side. The crown is screw down, smaller than my big fingers would like, but very much in keeping with the aesthetics of the watch, which I would say tends more towards the elegant than the sporty. It has 3 positions. The first one allows the manual winding, the second one the change of date, turning it backwards, and the third one the change of time, as we already mentioned, without stopping the second's hand. If we turn it over, we can see a threaded cover with a display window. I do not know if it is glass or sapphire, but either way, I always like to see the caliber, even if it is so Spartan and aesthetically ungraceful as in this case. I think it would have looked much better with a more skeletonized rotor and not so big, but well, with that brushing seems to have given a little decoration. In the metal closer to the crystal, we can see references and legends of the watch. And now we come to the strap, which is probably not the best I have, but it is pretty good, and it is also one of the few with that suede or leather finish that fits very well. Being completely matte, it contrasts very well with a watch that shines quite bright. As you can see, it is black and has a thread stitching that runs through it up to the height of the first loop, the one that is sewn. On the other side, it is synthetic leather and looks quite dignified. The buckle is a large steel buckle. This one is brushed and has the Cadisen brand laser engraved on it. The measurements of the watch are 43 millimeters in case diameter, 12 millimeters in height or thickness, 49.5 in length between posts, 24 millimeters in width between lugs, and weighs 98.5 grams with strap. So I would either reject it, put it on a waiting list, or buy it from me. I would buy it. And this is the end of today's review, which I hope you liked. If you did, please like it, share it, turn on the bell, and subscribe if you haven't done it yet. Thanks for being there, and if you want, I'll see you in the next video. See you soon.